On this week's show, 3.0 combat, I want to be a toy box farmer, and what makes a good Disney Infinity figure. All this and more on episode 89 of the Inside Infinity podcast.
What's up, guys? This is John Vignacchi, executive producer on Disney Infinity, and you are listening to Inside Infinity, the first official Disney Infinity podcast on the net.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 89 of the Inside Infinity podcast, recorded May 17th, 2015. I'm one of your two hosts, Will Kelly, and joining me as always, Mr. Jason Haynes. Jason, how you doing, buddy?
Good morning. How are you? It's quite early here. I'm not used to this.
It's true. We are recording on an abnormal time and an abnormal day. It's like bright and early for Jason. Do you have your coffee, though?
Yeah, I finished that a while ago and just let the wife get the kids ready for school. They haven't gone to school yet, so
Nice.
we'll knock this one out of the park nice and early and get off. Good start to a day, though.
There you go. I like that. We could talk some Disney Infinity, and then you can get on with your day. Well,
Yeah.
let's go and get things started. First up, though, this episode and all episodes of Inside Infinity is brought to you in partnership with the Disney Infinity Fans Forum. Disney Infinity Fans is your number one forum for all things Disney Infinity. It's a great group over there, great community, lots of good content, rumors, news, trading, toy box building, all that you could possibly ask for as far as the Disney Infinity community goes. This week's roundtable is actually the head of Disney Infinity Forum, Sheriff Woody, joined me for the roundtable, so make sure that you tune into that right after this show. I'd like to say hello to everyone in the chat room. We got a few people in there. Good buddy James at Infinity Museum, who we're going to have on again. I'd like to say hello to everyone. If you'd like to chat with us live each and every Monday evening, you can do that. Just head over to twitch.tv/Disney Infinity TV. That's it for the plugs, Jason. How about we get things started?
Let's go.
We still got lots of good news happening in the world of Disney Infinity, and we're just going to pick right up. There's been a few new Game Informer articles, Jason. First two of which were going over the two new Toy Box games that they've announced, Toy Box Speedway and Toy Box Takeover. Do you have a chance to look at either of these, Jason?
Yes, I did. I have some thoughts on them, but let's hear your thoughts first.
Well, first up, I'm going to show a little bit of the Toy Box Speedway. Here we go. So we've seen that image before, but the cool thing about this is that we got to see a little bit of gameplay in here. If this loads up. The cool thing about this is, Jason, is that, I don't know, we actually got to see what it looks like, which, to be quite honest, I didn't feel looked too different than than what we're used to play. And I have a feeling it's going to be one of those things where you just kind of have to get hands-on to get a good feeling.
I completely agree, and I think the footage that they showed there, I think right near the end you see a scene of the what do you call it? Is it the snowman from Frozen? I think is like over the top of the track, and he sort of swings his hand or whatever.
Yeah. Let me
Which
see.
is, I think, by the sounds of the articles, like sort of what they're plugging it as. Like they're sort of saying that it's kart racing, but there's going to be elements in it that would not necessarily be possible in the toy box.
Mhm.
My thing is, just make it possible in the toy box.
Well-
Like, how is a snowman? Like, I understand, like the snowman, it's special animation, but why couldn't you just make that a what do you call it? What are they called in the
Townsperson.
toy box? Not a townsperson, a set piece.
Okay.
Is that what they're called?
Yep.
Yeah, the ones
For
with the
big
castle and
pieces.
all that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah, whatever those ones are called. Can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Yeah,
But
set
yeah,
pieces.
why wouldn't you just make elements like that are designed to go over the top of a track? Because in my opinion, I think this is for, like, I use the term ye of little faith. To me, this just suggests is that they're not confident that the community could build tracks that are interesting enough to support a kart racer
Yeah.
like this. And I also think though, but in the same breath, I think it's also maybe a stopgap to say, well, the toy box technology isn't quite there yet to be able to create tracks as quote unquote as interesting as this yet. So let's make a game disc that will be made custom, like you know, special made tracks for this soda case until such time that the toy box reaches that level of complexity that we can. Because don't that's I think everyone's concern is like, what's the motivation to build a kart racer in your toy box
Hmm.
if you've got this other different toy box game experience shipping alongside it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying and actually agree with everything. My biggest issue with that though, and it goes along with what you're saying, is that the tracks themselves very easily can be made in the toy box. If you look at them, they're all track pieces. So the actual physical track, the driving to and from different areas, is built with toy box assets already. It's just the environments and some of the other like things in the toy box.
Elements. And it
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be like I agree with you. When I'm looking at that footage that was shown, there's
Hmm.
nothing there to suggest to me that goes, wow, that driving looks a lot tighter than what we have currently. Like there's
Right.
nothing, and not to say that it isn't. I'm sure it is leaps and bounds, but the footage wasn't very. Yeah, yeah. I think we nailed it on the head. It's just there's nothing you look at that and go, I could build that in the toy box.
Right. I mean, look, these are two
What's
different track pieces butted up against each other. And
Yeah, it's
then,
like what's so special? It's.
uh-huh.
I mean, let's not. I mean, the fact that if like all this talk is going around in all the articles they've said that obviously like Mario Kart 64 is sort of their inspiration slash goal to get that Mario
Right.
Kart quality feel, which is amazing because when you think Mario Kart quality control combined with the huge roster of figures that we've got to play with and
Hmm.
the really cool vehicles that you can play with even now as we speak is a really cool option. I just don't understand why you wouldn't build something that is yet another feather in the cap of the
Yeah.
toy box rather than separating into a separate game. If I was going to move forward, and I hope it goes this direction, what I would like to see is that the toy box game discs are like um, it like puts the toy box in kart racer mode,
Hmm.
and so those discs bring together a really nice leaderboard system, a really nice interface to bring cups, but you build your own cups by
Yeah.
importing tracks and stuff like that. So it's not just a generic toy box, but it's like basically bringing a kart racer interface to the game, but you're
Hmm.
still drawing the tracks from the community built, custom built tracks. I think that could be
Yeah.
super powerful. I'm sure that's where it'll eventually go. I just think these games are a good opportunity to create good replayable content that's somewhat polished out of the gate and not having to like cross your fingers that a community
Right.
will build stellar racetracks.
Totally, and it's got to be better than than the old toy box game disc, right? I mean, those were impressive from a sheer amount of work involved to create them, but gameplay wise, it wasn't. And that was actually alluded to multiple times in both of these
Yeah.
two articles. So they wanted to learn their lessons from that. James
And
in the
again, a
chat.
kart racer is going to be awesome. Like I'm
Mhm.
not against the kart racer. I just, again, as a toy box, pro toy box person, I'm just like,
Right.
it's disappointing that there doesn't seem to be a greater tie and emphasis into tying it back to the toy box. That's all.
Totally. Yeah, James is saying maybe that just there's a technical limitation right now, and not necessarily them trying to
Yeah.
separate. And hopefully you're right. I mean this thing right here, I'm still kind of holding out hope that maybe we can get that in game because that would just be so cool for your Everest toy box that you make for
Oh
Animal
yeah.
Kingdom or for Abominable Snowman action.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, with that, let's talk about the other known toy box disc called Toy Box Takeover. This is also at Game Informer. We'll post these links in the show notes. Um, yeah, essentially, uh, it's kind of like Diablo, which aspects of the Toy Box game disc in 2.0 were kind of labeled that. but it sounds like they've made some improvements. This is something that could not be made from within the toy box natively. And it has some pretty interesting devices behind it. So first off, the premises of Toy Box Takeover is the Incredible Syndrome gets his hand on an infinity wand. This Syndrome starts pulling together all sorts of worlds and iconic villains that span Infinity's myriad franchises, including Star Wars, Pixar, and modern and classic Disney. So Jason, I got to ask you first about that. Do you like this concept from like a kind of a story standpoint or gameplay availability?
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Well, I mean, it's them kind of getting rid of the loophole of not being able to play with different franchises in the same toy box.
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, I just don't understand this game mode at all. I hope this is one of the ones they have on demo at E3 so that we can get a bit more of an understanding. I feel like I need to see this one in action before I really grasp. Because again, it sounds like a good game, and I kind of like the concept of the old one, like whatever it was called, the Escape from the Kiln. I like that 4-player co-op potential. But just the game itself was a bit on the boring side. So that's the missing piece for me, is like, tell me what's the hook here? Why would I want to continually repeat play this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one hook is just being able to see lots of different franchises and it making more sense to bring different characters in there. It sounds like you're probably going to be able to use any characters you want, which is really cool. It also is going to include new enemies and something called the Void, and this is something that's kind of neat from a gameplay perspective. The Void is an unstoppable, slow-moving force that creeps up behind you, destroying everything in its path, including enemies. Then it goes on to say that your sidekicks play a much bigger role in this one, which is going to lead into something we're going to speak on in a few moments. But the Void thing sounds kind of interesting. It means you're going to have to constantly be making forward progress. Personally, stuff like that in games stresses me out, so I don't know how much I'm going to like it. But I can see it, moving the action forward. And it also just having an excuse to give us more Toy Box villains, assuming, this game disc villains would go into the Toy Boxes, I think is also a good thing. But I'm with you.
Well, let's hope, because there'll be nothing more frustrating as a toy box builder to see something really cool in game that you can't have access to in the toy box.
Yep.
To me, it destroys the whole premises of the game. The whole point of the game is that, you're buying toys, they're prearranged in a playable form, but then you could take those and play with them in the toy box. Like, that's the premise of the Toys for Life franchise.
Right.
And not to have that is frustrating.
Totally. Yeah, and a certain amount of that's expected from the play sets, but these are Toy Box game disc, right? That's
Exactly.
what they're being called. So that's give us practically everything. Cool. All right, Jason, let's keep the ball rolling. Let's talk about another cool thing. There's an expansion on the Ninja Theory combat improvements in 3.0. So one thing I'm noticing, Jason, is that a lot of this is either being pulled from the Game Inform or physical magazine or the digital article, and then sometimes just a little bit expanded on. And this is an example of that. What were your thoughts on this improvement? I'm going to bring up a really, really cool video of Jedi combat here.
Well,
while you tell us.
This, unlike the karting, clearly demonstrates that the fighting has been improved. Like, this is way cooler. It looks super fast, super responsive. You can look at it and you can tell it's going to be way more fun to fight. Whether it's fun enough that, like, because I don't know about you, but like, I loved the Batman fighting style. Like, I don't think it ever got old. Like, I just loved it. It was like the first time ever in a game where I'd actually like hunger to find enemies just so I could get back into a fight situation. So whether this will have that same addictive nature where you actually enjoy the process of fighting, and certainly it shows. It looks like they've added a lot of unique moves to each particular character, which is going to make it interesting as too. Obviously, Batman didn't have that; you just had the same move set, obviously. Whereas this looks like you're going to have different finishes. That's obviously a finisher move right there,
right.
and so that's and so. And again, like imagine this fight style with 4 people in a toy box.
Yeah.
That could be super fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing. I'm really excited. It does look because of its speed, and I think like it does look janky when you sort of break it down. There's a lot of sliding, a lot of like
Yeah.
the
Especially in this
animation
first
doesn't
scene
look
here.
great, but I think that's just because it is so fast.
Yeah.
It's hard to create, complex animation with such simple, simple character design, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
in a way, that's a good thing because they're not sacrificing, good fit. See how it's like sliding everywhere. But
Yeah.
again, it's just like I'll take that any day as long as it feels fun.
Yep, I agree with you. It sounds like the combat's going to be accessible for new people who just want to button mash, or younger people. It's going to be advanced enough where you can modify the combat kind of mid throw, which is interesting. And it's funny, Jason. Like I think we keep discussing, and I don't remember if we came up with it on our own, and I mean us as in our entire group and our community and people we talked to about Infinity, not just you and I, or if we read it someplace, but the idea of emulating Batman's combat keeps coming up. And I really hope, I mean, that's what it kind of looks like, but I'm with you. I really hope that's how this feels, because if so, that's going to make combat in Infinity much more entertaining, and something that a lot of times for Infinity was a pretty monotonous task.
Well, even those enemies, look at how the enemies, like they're strafing around the character. They clearly, like, they look like a much more interesting enemy. Whereas Disney Infinity 1 and 2, enemies sort of just like zombies walk towards you,
Yeah.
throwing
Like that guy.
projectiles or whatever. Like it was just super boring. Whereas this just looks dynamic and interesting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
again, to think, like even Batman, you can't do co-op, but to think to have 4 people fighting in that style in a toy box, it's just going to feel so empowering.
Awesome. Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. It's cool seeing. We get to see lots of different combat here. We get to see some double-edged lightsaber action. We get to see two-handed saber action, and then just normal, and lots of different characters. So this is a great video, and the actual article goes into a little more depth. It's kind of complicated though, so we're just going to recommend that you actually read that.
And I've got to tell you, I mean, there's a lot of talk in the article about how everyone wanted to do the original trilogy type thing, but and how was it Ninja Theory got the old one because it was combat focused. But my gosh, I've been watching the Clone Wars TV show, and it's top tier. I'm like, I'd take that stuff anytime. Like the Jedis and all the bounty hunters are so cool in that show. Like I would much rather be making the game based on that content rather than retreading old ground that's been done 100 times before. And like full credit to Studio Gobo because they're clearly making it interesting and going, a different route than everyone else has. But I'm loving Clone Wars. Highly recommend people check that out on Netflix if you haven't checked it out already. That'll pump you up for that playset for sure.
I'm still only a couple in, but I'm digging it and can't wait to.
Well,
get
I'm only
more
2
into
seasons in. I've nearly finished season 2.
That's still impressive. Cool. So yeah, go read that article if you want to find out more. They also discussed in an article toy box improvement. So this is still the big question mark. I think there's still a lot we don't know about the toy box. We already talked about farming on the show. That's kind of a wait to see sort of deal. I think we're all kind of like, that's interesting. And it's specific for your sidekicks, and so it sounds like there's going to be this meta game where you have to power up your sidekicks using this farming, which I don't know, it's I'm not against it by any means. It's just until I see it also I'm a little interested. I'm confused by it. Do you worry about me,
love
Jason?
In general though, I do love metagame stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Let's see.
Yep. Again, and we talked about farming and this toy machine on a previous episode, on episode 87 during the announcement. But they also talked a little bit more about the toy machine, which is basically going to be like one of those quarter machines that you put your change in and you turn the thing and it pulls out a little plastic capsule with the toy in it. That's what this is going to do, but it's intended to give you some toys you may not play with very often. So it's just going to be a random toy that pops out.
Yep.
This toy machine's in everyone. I don't know. I think that's kind of a neat idea, Jason. Like, just say, hey, have you played with this in a while? If not, why don't you give it a shot?
Well, it's not even that. It's just like someone like my daughter who like she's building this toy box. She calls it Kira World. She asked me, "Can I play in Kira
That's
World?" Where she
adorable.
just literally just lays down whatever. And I think that's the target audience for that machine. It's like she can load up a toy box, she can spin the thing, and toy pops out, and she can play with it. It's like, what's this? And just explore and experiment with it.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great idea for young toy box people to just not have to think, what am I going to do? It's so daunting when you open up an empty toy box if you don't have an idea what you want to build. Just to be able to hit a button, here's a toy, go nuts. I think that's really cool.
Yep, and it's going to be in every single toy box you boot up, no matter what. So there's not going to be any sort of
As long as I can delete it ASAP, I'm happy with it.
Yep. So we learned more about the spline tool, a tool that we're all really excited about. Jason, I know you got to be ecstatic with this tool.
I know quite a bit about the spline tool, and it's going to be just a integral part of just about every toy box.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the one thing I've been wanting since day one. And JV, it was kind of assumed, but JV confirmed that you can not only use it for AI pass, camera pass, but you can also use it as like a track system as well to really make your rides. So that's kind of your understanding too, you said.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing, amazing, amazing tool, particularly for the cutscene stuff, but like just mechanics in general. Like, we're all going to want to go back and recreate the attractions we built for the Disneyland project. And
Totally.
yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited to sort of start playing with those.
It's awesome. I can't wait. Right on. The only other new toy box thing we learned from this article is something called the proximity detector. I'm sure.
And the music tool. Don't forget the music tool.
I completely missed the music tool. How did I read past that? What's wrong with me? Well, tell me about the music tool then.
Well, I'll tell you about the proximity detector first. So the proximity detector is exactly as it sounds. It sounds like it's based an area of effect thing so that you can effectively trigger different behaviors and or actions based on the distance of the player from the object that it's attached to. What you can detach it to is, I'm unclear. You could certainly attach it to, because the example they used was attaching it to a townsperson. So that if a character gets a certain distance, they can start running away or whatnot, which again is amazing as far as the opportunities that opens up gameplay-wise to have proximity-based actions and have actions that are based on different proximities and so on. So that's really cool. But yeah, the other one was sort of offhandedly mentioned at the end of the article, and Jose sort of expanded a bit more on Twitter, was this music tool that's coming to the thingo. And
Oh, yes.
again, I don't know if he was what details are accurate or not, but it sounds like it's a tool that has a single note that you can link them together, and then you choose piano. I can't remember the instruments. There's like 3 or 4 instruments that you can choose from, but effectively it sounds like you are going to be able to compose simple music in the toy boxes. I mean, if it's an individual, like the way he made it sound as if it's like literally one toy per note.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I don't know how memory intense that would be, but nonetheless, it's cool, like, to be able to compose your own music. So we'll see what happens in final build, because I get the impression that the toy box is still very much in flux, and toys will be, in one day, out the next. So we just have to wait and see.
Final.
But yeah, still, that's a great start. Opening up with those 3 tools alone has just made the toy box that much more interesting.
Totally. One thing that they didn't really talk about, but they showed, and it's something we've wondered about, Jason, is what this new Toy Box Hub is. And this is actually a picture of it. And what this is doing is it's going to be replacing that new Toy Box experience that the 2.0 had, which I personally thought was actually very well done in this hub world. So it looks like there's some sort of UI interface where you can choose where you want to go. Very few details on what is what, but Jason, I just noticed something literally as you're sitting here talking. We've heard that there's going to be some...
Thanks for listening.
I was listening. We've heard that there's going to be some additional Main Street items, and it looks like this area right here is a Main Street. This section to me kind of looks like the train station to me, or the kind of like the clock tower from when you first walk into the parks.
It's definitely Main Street.
Yes, yeah, it's Main Street here, and here's a fountain. Who knows if that's like a partner statue fountain, but I don't know what this is. This over here might be the firehouse. Can't really tell what the other items are, but I just think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And this hub looks neat. I think it's going to be fun. I kind of like how each area is themed a certain way.
It's interesting. What's interesting is that it's got diagonals.
Mm-hmm.
So the textures, that's exciting. If we can get diagonals in 3.0, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But this is specifically a picture of the hub, is it?
Yep. So forgive
like,
me. So below there's a caption. This is the new Toy Box Hub, which teaches players the fundamentals of building, platforming, driving, and more. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So cool. Jason, that's it for Game Informer so far. Again, we're probably going to be talking about this for at least another show or two because they're just continuing this coverage.
Well, and interestingly, on which we're going to talk about next on Toy Box TV Live, it was sort of made very clear that Game Informer have the exclusive on Disney Infinity 3.0 until such time that their coverage is complete, which I think was for the month, I believe. But I think that's why we're getting such other little information. Clearly, they've been given the exclusive rights to all Disney Infinity 3.0 information, and so we won't see any info out of Disney themselves until that, like gameplay footage and the likes, until that's complete, which is fair enough because, as JV says, it's about supporting them as one of the last remaining, video game magazine platforms out there, and they're doing it right. I mean, the content's been great, and I love that they've sort of stretched out, giving us little tidbits for our podcast. But let's just say I think it'll be exciting once it's over, because then I think the floodgates will open as far as getting much more information and footage from the play sets and the toy box and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool, too, that they're showing so many videos. That's something we don't really get that often, and so it's providing that, and so hopefully we can get that more granular detail once Disney and everyone else starts reporting on it.
Yeah.
Cool. So, let's talk about the Toy Box TV Live Episode 2. Honestly, not a ton of info, and even Jason, we have a lot of bullet points here that we're not going to go over, but we do want to hit on a few of the major things. One is it sounds like they're furiously prepping for pre-E3 stuff. There's a pre-E3 event for journalists to try 3.0, both in Santa Monica and also in London a few days later, so that's exciting, and that's...
Australia's on that list, is it? Or...
Yeah. I don't see it. I think you should. I think we should rise up.
I thought we were friends, JV. I don't understand what's going on here. The cost must be astronomical to send a disc to Australia. Yeah. I could have been there for him. I could have sat there and I could have played it. I guess they're just scared of my brutal feedback, but that's all right.
No, they're just afraid of you saying all these things are your idea. Oh.
It's all right. Good. Well, that's great for London. Who else did you say is getting this amazing demo because they can't get
California.
E3? Oh, well, that seems a waste. Aren't they like right next to E3?
Yeah. I don't get it.
The home of E3?
Yeah, I honestly think what this is probably for is that there's just so much E3 stuff for journalists to do. during the event that this is a lot of times. Well, you and I know this. Like, there's an Xbox and a PS4 news brief the day before E3 actually starts, but it's that same week, just so they can, capture some of that limelight. This is probably them doing the same thing there. It's cool though. I mean, it means we'll be getting info real soon. They talked about a blog meetup where they gave away 200 Minnie and Mickey figures. So there's
if we had known, we could have put Bad Gamer in a dress and sent him along to that. Have they not seen the photos that he takes?
I know, right?
What a wasted opportunity, Disney. It's all right. Yeah. It's okay. We'll buy our Mickey and Minnie. That's fine.
Probably from one of those moms on eBay and spend lots of money.
Yeah.
Not just kidding. So not that it was any surprise. They also pretty much confirmed another Toy Box Summit this year. They were talking about Mighty Jidas's townsperson or whatever she's going to be. Who knows if she's a sidekick or a townsperson or what, but saying that they might have to do something with that at ETH or at the summit.
If they have a summit. It was not confirmed.
That's true.
But it was confirmed.
I mean, more or less.
Yeah.
Our good buddy Evilos, who used to sponsor the show, met with JV recently, and I guess they're working on a project, which is kind of cool. Still in the Infinity
More exclusives
game.
I can't get. Excellent.
Hey, maybe I don't even want to go there. We all know how that conversation of exclusives go.
Yeah.
Lastly, and I thought this actually to be kind of the most interesting part of the event, is JV talked a little bit about the process of how figures are made, or not necessarily how they're made, but how they come to be made. And they go through 3 key components: what makes a good gameplay. They also listen to the community, and they look at what partners they would like to work with on their priorities. Next step is concept phase, and Avalanche goes through some sketches to see what the figures could possibly look like, then 3D, then 3D printing. They said that they're not really meant to be toys; they're more supposed to be collectibles, and this is things that we have actually kind of known for a while. Jason, I would be remiss if I didn't mention where I got this info from. So we watched the live stream, but this is actually a recap. DizKingdom.com does a great recap after every one of these. And so if you ever miss anything or you watch it and you want some more info without going back all the way through, you can head over to DizKingdom.com where they recap all of this info.
Well, they also mentioned skill trees.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Redesign skill trees so that it's going to be split up into categories effectively using tabs along the top. Again, we haven't seen them as yet, but effectively, they've separated via tabs, somewhat like a suggestion I made.
Into episode 52, about 43 minutes in.
Into like a healer or whether you want to upgrade your attack skills. So they're going to put all the different upgrades under the different categories so that it's easier to customize your character. And then they've added a force powers tab for these Star Wars characters. So well done. Good idea, Disney.
Thank goodness. I hated how random it was. Like, you go through the list and you're like, okay, this was my flying unlock was unlock 1 for Iron Man, and it was like unlock 50 for Falcon. I'm making up those numbers, but you know what I mean? It's like so frustrating and random. I hated it.
Yeah. So no, it's good. It's very good, and hopefully, someone asked this question because I'm asleep when Toy Box Live is on, but someone needs to ask the question: is it still? You can only, you can respec your skill tree twice. I wonder if they've gotten rid of that. What do you call it? Limitation, or whether you can respec as many times as you want. Because it kind of, like, if you've got a skill tree unlike that, you kind of want to be able to respec whenever you want, don't you? Like, you don't want to be locked into being a healer Hulk, if you want to be an attack Hulk later on.
Right. I mean, it opens up so much. Why not allow you to make as many different builds as you want? I mean, you still have to redo it every single time, so it's not like, I don't know, it still takes a little bit of effort and work. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they should do that.
Yeah, definitely.
I
But
wa-
anyway, so new skill trees, which is a good thing.
yeah, I wonder if this is also indicative that the toy unlock will be a little different as well. I mean, because a lot of times they have the spirals that went around too, very similar to the unlocks, and it was just annoying that you'd have to go through all of these toys. I understand the progression system, but it was just kind of annoying. And unlock all. I really just want that button. Give me an unlock all per page for toys.
Yeah, I don't think it should. Like, I don't think the toy unlock should be tied to sparks at all. I really think that's a silly. I mean, maybe have some, but I think the vast majority, particularly creative toys, you want just available day one, and you
Yep.
have just specialty items available to buy with sparks, like set pieces and things that aren't necessarily integral. But I don't understand why you'd want to handcuff the toy box artist to say, no, no. Don't you dare build a
Yeah.
really good toy box until you've put 50 hours into 3 play sets.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or
Like,
farmed your sparks.
if you're a toy box builder, you only play the play sets because you want the toys.
Yeah.
So it's like when Battlefield releases, it's like we know it's like no, we're not penalized. We're not put in a situation where we can't play the multiplayer where we all want to play until we've gone through the single player. It's like you're either one or the other. You like the idea of playing the play sets, but you play that when in between building toy boxes. You don't want to have to be forced to trudge your way through them just to unlock toys. I
Yeah.
am bitter today. Sorry about that. It's early in the morning. I've only had one coffee.
You need more coffee. So, well, cool. Yeah, I think
Totally excited about the game. I hate to get off on a bad foot, but I'm totally
No,
excited
no.
about it.
Honestly, I've taken it as positive. And actually, a lot of people in the chat are saying the exact same thing. It's like 3.0 is just shaping up to look so good, and we got high hopes for
It is. They are ticking all the right boxes, and I just think, as I said, I think every iteration that comes our way is one step closer to
Yep.
the game that I think we all know in our hearts we want in long term. So the closer every time, they're not going backwards. That's the important thing here.
Yeah.
Absolutely going
totally.
forward.
It's interesting. Our conversation this time last year, Jason, was like, "Oh, we've seen some stuff. We hope they do this." Whereas this conversation's been like, "We're reading about these things and it's sounding really good." It's a lot less hope and more. I mean, there's still lots of questions, but it's just things are just looking so much better instead of us hoping that they're better.
Oh, so cool. Oh, and I should also. They also mentioned redesigned Hall of Heroes, completely redesigned Hall of Heroes.
James just mentioned that in the chat room, which is awesome.
Which is cool because I knew obviously we were going to get a Star Wars Hall of Heroes, but I did not expect a completely redesigned Hall of Heroes for all of the characters. So
Yeah.
it's still unclear whether I don't think they'll be together. I think there'll still be
Yeah.
3 separate Hall of Heroes, but I'm expecting them to be different so that we won't have that ugly separation of the 1.0 like the Disney original figures. I think that'll all be completely redesigned. Plus, I think they want to sweep under the carpet that whole nothing in the treasure room
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
scenario. So they're going to recorrect that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they actually turn out to be. That's for sure.
We all wanted it. We got it. Thank you.
Yep. Again, another tick.
Yeah.
Well, cool, buddy. Well, that's gonna wrap up the week. That's a lot of news items. We got through them, and it's awesome that we're just gonna keep finding out more, especially with E3 right around the corner. It's a few weeks away. We're gonna have even more info real soon, so that's exciting.
We won't be at
So-
E3 this year. Well, we will have some people at E3, but we
Yep.
personally, you and I, will not be there this year. But we'll certainly be glued to the coverage that Caesar's going to be bringing us, and also anyone else's coverage of Disney Infinity will be breaking down, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep. So Caesar is going to be going there for us this year. He was there with us last year, and he'll be getting interviews, getting hands on, and he'll be coming on the show to let us know about it.
Yeah, awesome.
So cool, buddy. Well, yeah, let's call it a day. We actually got quite a few people in the chat, so thanks everyone who joined us on our off day here. Tesla Blitz is asking, when does E3 start? I want to say it's like June 13th or something.
Yeah.
around
The press
that.
conferences start June 14 or something like that. So, and then it's 3 days after that, the actual So it was June 17 or something like that. Well, I dare say we'll see our first footage of the showroom floor.
Yeah. Yep. And Jason and I were even in talks about having nightly podcasts to break down the big events of that week. And so stay tuned if you want to find out more about other stuff, including Disney Infinity.
Yeah.
Wildlife, June 16th through the 18th. Thank you so much for that info.
Yeah. Super excited.
All right, buddy. Well, that's going to do it for today. I think it was good. I like talking Disney Infinity these days. Lots to talk about.
I never stop liking it. Well,
No, I know. I haven't either, but it's just nice that, we
it is
actually have
nice to
news.
have fresh news and exciting, fresh game to talk about. Like, let's hope we have this experience for many years to come
Definitely. That's our
as
plan
new
anyway.
versions come out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, thanks again for being on this week's show, as always. Thanks, everyone in the chat. We will be back, thinking the same time next week. So we will keep your eyes peeled, but pretty sure it's going to be Monday normal time next week. So, yeah, we hope to see everyone back next week. But until then, we hope your week is filled with infinite possibilities. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Inside Infinity. If you like what we do, please subscribe and like us. Look for us on youtube.com/Disney Infinity TV. If you also want to support us other than a subscription, you can do that by heading to patreon.com/Disney Infinity TV and becoming a patron of ours. Look for us on Twitter and Facebook and Twitch, twitch.tv/Disney Infinity TV.